What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Magnum West here, and I know it's been a little bit of a minute. I've been waiting for some things to come in, and then also I just started school, so pardon the absence, but we're back anyway. I'll be back with another video tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned. But today we're taking a look at this Mafex Batman. This is like I think the official name is Night Crusader Batman. But I believe this is like right before he gets his back broken in the KnightFall storyline. Um, he does come with a couple of different looks, so this isn't the only one, but this is the one I currently have him in. But without further ado, let's jump into the accessories. Okay, so for accessories, we'll go ahead and start here. He has some open palm hands. These are kind of like flying through the air, just expressive hands. This is probably my favorite set from the alternative. Then paired with another accessory, we have some like diving hands. You can use these like, if he's flying or gliding, I guess. Batman don't fly. Or swimming. It comes with an accessory. We'll talk about it here in a sec. Then he comes with these grippy hands. Honestly, it's like pretty cool because they almost look like trigger hands. I hope that's capturing on the camera. Um, but as you can see, he has like a little bit of like a trigger finger right there. But you can put the battering effect on there, and it holds it really well, like nice and firm. Then he has like a pair of like kind of loose fists to be able to put the cape in there. And then his last hands, obviously besides the fist, which he comes on stock, he has some like relaxed hands or semi gripping hands. And then here's the battering, and it does come with the wire, which is right here. But mine did break, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. This is probably like the only drawback is it's I don't know what Mafex's process is for making these, but I had the Billy clubs for Daredevil break. I had the Billy clubs for Nightwing break with the wire, and this one's no different. So I don't know if they need to like figure it out better, but or what they use like really crappy glue, but it was already loose when I opened it, and this was brand new by the way, and it just broke off when I was posing it. So but you have that of course. So if you're one of those people that likes to keep pristine, I would say just don't even bother with it. Don't even use that accessory. But here, first off, this is probably like my second favorite head. This is like the long ears, and I remember like when I was younger, one of the first comic books I got, it was like a hand me down, and it had this art style. So like this Batman has always been kind of in my head. It's definitely not my favorite, but it is really cool that we have a premium format version of this figure. Um, yeah, so really sick looking. Get it close in there. Boom. And then secondly, he comes with this alternate head, which is the one I told you. For whatever reason, like I'm sure this is like a hyper specific look, that maybe he had for like 3 panels and they decided to make a head out of it. I definitely wish they would have just included like a teeth gritting face or maybe a Bruce Wayne head with a mullet, as I think he had the mullet during this time. Um, I don't know. It's pretty cool though. Not gonna complain. And then probably my favorite accessories is he comes with this capeless collar, which is amazing. I'm definitely gonna show you all the different looks. And then he comes with a like horned, cowl with the cape look, which is definitely really dope. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over the articulation real quick, and then I switched the look. That way you can see the way it looks with the, like the swimming set on. Let me go ahead and back out a little bit here. But like I said, it's definitely one of those things that I wish they would have just included a different head sculpt, because this is like a very, very hyper specific look, and it doesn't really fit a whole lot of scenarios. So yeah, but anyway, the head, typical Mafex, it is on a double ball peg, but let me go ahead and show it real quick. You take off the cowl here, really easy to remove. It's like a thin neck piece, which it moves a little bit, but it doesn't move a whole lot when you have the cowl on. But it is there, right? So it's gonna move a little bit. So you go ahead and plug that thing back on, and let's go ahead and put the head back on. But you're still gonna get a lot of movement out of the head. And obviously it has those hooked ones, so you could flip it around to have more forward or more back. I currently have mine going more back, so there you go. And then obviously 360. Then shoulders, um, really good, really nice. And then bicep swivel. Then the butterfly joints are really good. It's a Mafex figure, so this is pretty expected. But we'll go over the differences with the other Hush Batman figures, which are pretty much the same body, but there is some differences. That's what it looks like going back. And then bicep swivel, ball hinges for the wrists. Yeah, you know what you're getting into as far as that goes. And this torso definitely is different, at least the abdomen area. And so the right here, it's a double ball, like it's a double ball peg, and then it plugs into both. So you get a pretty decent amount of range from, definitely get more back than you do forward, but it's there. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could go ahead and Dremel some of that out to get a little bit more forward, which I might do, honestly. But in combination with the lower abdomen, you get pretty solid range. And then unfortunately, this one didn't get the upgrade that Daredevil did, where it's on a double ball peg here in the pelvis. That would have, I think, sent this figure through the roof, but it still has very, very good articulation. And then if you're familiar with Mafex, they do incorporate the drop downs, which help a lot for getting sideways. It definitely isn't all the way bent. There definitely is better out there, but it's still pretty good. Then getting forward, thanks to that soft plastic underwears, you get pretty good going forward. And then you don't really get much back because, again, I don't know, I don't think they incorporated some of the upgrades of their more recent Mafex figures that came out alongside with this figure, by the way. But it's still really good. Double knees, really nice. Mine are a little tight, but I like it that way, so it's not really a problem. They got the ankles, and then the hinge is really good. Again, it's still a Mafex, so it's almost the king of articulation, right? Besides Revo, but that's about it for the articulation. Let's get into the aesthetic. Okay, so real quick, I'm just gonna do the heads first, like the upper torso part, and this is that other look I was telling you guys about, where he has the long horns with the horns right here, or the spikes or whatever you want to call them here on the shoulders. And for me personally, this is a little bit too stylized and a little too different for Batman for me. I would say that the horns with the regular head, this one it looks a little bit better, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this look. It's still cool because it gives you basically two figures in one, because it here it is. It comes with two capes, two separate capes. So that's literally two different looks, two figures. It would have really been pretty dumb if they did two different figures for each look. So Mafex is one of the best companies because of that, they often give the consumer the choice. Like I said, it would have been really stupid if they made a whole other $90 figure for a look that maybe 10% of Batman fans are a huge fan of, and they gave it to you here with one figure. So that's amazing. I love that about this figure. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this look, I definitely still think that's cool. Now I'm gonna go ahead and swap it for my preferred look, which is a more classic looking Batman in these colors, and I'm gonna say that this is 100% my personal favorite look for Batman. I love the blue and gray look. The only other figure or look that matches this, and I would say they're tied, is the Dark Knight Returns blue and gray, the triumphant or the battle damage version from that one, cover. But this is just when I think of Batman, this is exactly what I think of. It's a little bit animated, it's not. It looks comic-y, but it almost looks animated as well, just because it doesn't have any lining on it or anything like that. So I might customize the blue parts and leave the gray parts alone, but I might add some shadowing to the blue parts just to make it look a little bit more comic book accurate. But this is definitely my preferred look as far as the whole thing of Batman goes. But now let me go ahead and adjust the camera real quick. Okay, Now we're gonna go ahead and look at the body. And I would say that the main difference, at least I watched La Jugueteria de Alf. He's a YouTube channel or he's a YouTube channel. He's a YouTube content creator, and he does a pretty good comparison between the both. And then also El Cuarto Gaming. He's like a big SH figure arts guy, but he also did this one, and they showed it off pretty clear the differences between the Batman Hush and this one, and definitely the upper torso is the biggest difference. Obviously, the boots are different as well, but the upper torso, like if you guys have the Batman Hush, you can go ahead and look at it. I don't have it, unfortunately. But the abdomen is definitely a lot more defined, and he has a freaking 8 pack. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's freaking swole up here. Like the chest looks almost the same, but it looks like I said, it could be the shading that they did. I'm sure you could pick it up a little bit there. But there is like a pretty good amount of shading on the figure. I'm trying to show it as best I can, but um, it's subtle, but it's there, and I would say it complements the figure very well, and it definitely gives it that premium format look. And I mean, it's just it's an amazing sculpt for Batman. This is like the one sculpt I don't mind them reusing. Like I wish they would have made their 2099 on this body. Like I would have been over the moon if they did that. This is like a perfect body for 2099. At least for like his original look, right? But it's an amazing look for Batman, and this is definitely, I would say, the one thing that makes it better objectively than the Dark Knight Returns, which is my personal favorite, is the range. Like because the figure isn't as bulky, the articulation has a lot more range, but this figure is freaking beautiful. Like that blue, I hope it's picking it up on camera well, but that blue is just nice, vibrant, primary blue. The cape is amazing. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 wires in it, so you're gonna be able to do any Batman pose you really want, right? Like there is some stuff that you can only do in 2D, like in drawing, like you know it's a 3D figure. You have to incorporate matter and just how objects collide with each other. But for the most part, pretty much any Batman pose you want to do, you're gonna be able to get it. And this figure is just, I love this figure. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for aesthetic. Now let's do some size comparisons. Okay, and here he is next to the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Triumphant Batman, which is in the same color scheme. Obviously, there's a lot of stylistic differences. And then here he is with the regular black and gray version. And just here on its own, like real quick before we move on, the reason I like the blue and gray a lot better than the black and gray is just I feel like the black and gray is definitely not nowhere near as eye catching as the blue and gray. And for me personally, that's a big thing. Like I like to be able to notice these figures because most of my collection is like bright, like blues, reds, greens. Like I need there to be some contrast in that. And whereas like these black and gray, like Batman figures and just black and gray in general, often they like kind of, how would you say, like they seep in or they slip through the cracks and they kind of just match in like with the background, so you can't really notice them as much. So I would say that's like the main thing. Moving on here, we'll have him next to the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Superman. And for me personally, like I don't really mind this. I usually always imagine Superman being bigger or bulkier than Batman in my head because he is Superman. They're about the same size. I have the Superman a little bit, kind of his legs are a little bit out, but they're pretty much the same size. I think it fits pretty well. They're not like, oh my god, like one's a twig and the other one's like this, heaping mass of muscle. They're pretty similar. So I think that fits pretty well. But obviously, this one has the cell shading. And then last for Mafex, before I swap on to some other ones, we have the Mafex KnightFall Batman, which is the matching piece with this set. I say that because they literally have the same box art as far as like the logo and everything. And as you can see, that looks amazing. This version of Bane isn't like the hulking version of Bane. So he's like more controlled in this state. So it fits really well. I love this matching piece, and I'm definitely going to be uploading some pictures today of the both. But let's get to some other comparisons. Okay, now to close out the size comparisons, here we have the Aaron Yeager Rebel Tech. I got ahead of myself. The Rebel Tech Aaron Yeager right there. Obviously, it's a kit bash, but doesn't affect the size. Here we have a McFarlane Deadman. Of course, I knock him over. Um, and now here for the ones that I'm sure more people are interested in. He is next to the Revoltech Arkham Knight Batman, Mafex Spider-Man. The others, all the Spider-Mans are the same size. It's just I got rid of the classic. You have that, the Mafex Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and then Revoltech Batman. Go ahead and move those out of the way. And then we have them next to SH Figuarts Chun-Li, in case Capcom ever wants to do a collab with DC. And here we are with the SH Figuarts My Hero Academia Deku. And then last, but definitely not least, we have a set of killers. We have them here with the Marvel Legends 2-pack Punisher. And then last, but definitely not least, the Unk Val Eliminator. So definitely a lot of, size comparisons we went over, but pretty much is going to fit in wherever you really want them to fit in. And, you can finagle it, especially for toy photography. But that's pretty much all the size comparisons. Okay, now to wrap up the review real quick before my camera dies. I just wanted to say that I definitely slept on this figure. I didn't get it back when it first came out, which I believe it came out like early 2024 alongside with the Bane. And I don't know, it was just something about it didn't catch my eye immediately, even though this is like my favorite look for Batman. I already had, like, I think at that point I had the Mafex Hush Batman, the black and gray version. I had the black and gray Dark Knight Returns version, and then I had the Mafex Batman Triumphant. So I was like, like, why am I gonna get one more Batman? But definitely now that I have it, after it's, cooked and marinated in the action figure community, I could definitely see why everyone was glazing this figure when it first came out. It is definitely beautiful. I think it is probably the most colorful Mafex Batman, definitely. And then also like my preferred look, as I mentioned already. And it's just beautiful. Comes with the perfect amount of accessories. Very fun to pose and play with. And it looks very photogenic. So it looks pretty much good in any pose you put it in. Even if he's just standing there like right now or farming. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. What is your guys' favorite Mafex figure? And, let me know, do you guys have this guy in your collection? And as always, if you guys could drop me a like, share, and a sub, it's always appreciated. Thank you so much for the continued support, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good day. Peace.